Well, hello. Hello, and welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and see what we can get into. We're going to do a little bit of this Art Bell Midnight in the Desert. We're going to pick on this Rendlesham Forest, Part 2.
Let's read this one. There it is. Doom and Gloom show, huh? How retro. Next, you're going to tell me the world as we know it is going to turn upside down on Y2K. Oh, wait, nothing happened. Well, you know why it didn't happen? This is such a bogus thing. Yeah, it didn't happen. It's because we warned everybody and we fixed it. If nobody had done anything about Y2K, it would have been a horrible mess. But they fixed it because we screamed bloody murder. And then nothing happened, so they can blame us. And yeah, this is kind of, I don't know, warmly reminiscent of doom and gloom of all sorts. Gerald Slenta, and I really think he was going to say, oh, everybody, relax. Take it easy, take a deep breath. 401k is fine. No problem. So, yeah, it's retro, but it's cool. Gerald, welcome back.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good to have you. So let's see where to go. Oh, China also said that it's, or I guess the thought is that they're getting ready to have their equivalent Fed lower the rate. Yes?
Yes, they are, and they want to keep doing it. As a matter of fact, in my talking about going into a deeper recession, I just did an op-ed piece for USA Today. So if anyone goes to the USA Today website and hits opinion, it says right there, world sinks deep into recession, opposing view. And it's my piece about how I see things going. And yes, China they're lowering their interest rates, they're lowering their reserve ratios, and they're doing everything they can to try to pump the market up.
Sure.
And it's not working. And here's the thing about this, by the way.
Actually, we're following our model.
They're following our model to an extent that these guys are rookies. They're new at it. And when this thing was collapsing, I mean, the commentary was scathing about how they were handling things. And then it starts to seem like, oh, they're going to be on our neck thing out and say, well, it's perfectly fine for them to be doing these things. I started thinking to myself, it's okay to read the markets. Today we have a plunge protection team sitting right there in Wall Street, right on the floor, the Federal Reserve. Yeah, let's treat the markets. If things get too bad, then we're going to calm things down so we can control it. I mean, let's not call this capitalism. It's great. It's like going to the casino, the house is losing, and then playing for the
Usually, when this begins to happen, gold immediately shoots up in price. Now, strangely, over the last couple of days, it didn't really look today, but over the last couple of days, during big dives, gold suddenly stayed kind of stable.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit puzzled by it too.
Oh.
And again, being not a conspiracy theory, but as I mentioned to you before, you're seeing if you're seeing the Brazilian real, for example, it's been 36% against the dollar in a year. You're looking at the Australian dollar down 20% across the board, numbers like that. Now, let's suppose you live in Brazil and you're looking at your currency, the value in your crazy, inflation skyrocketing, and gold is based in dollars. So if your currency is declining and you're owning gold, would you like that? My belief is that considering the facts, and the fact is, convicted of felonies for reading LIBOR and Forex, it is not in the bank's interest, it's certainly not in the government's interest, any of these big nations or the declining ones, to see gold prices skyrocket as the currencies are plummeting. Here's my forecast. We have said in the beginning that the bottom of gold is around 1,000 to 1,150. And that's when gold began to tumble back in 2000 and late 2011. We're also saying that when it goes up, it's going to skyrocket. It doesn't pay to take gold out of the ground after $1,000 an ounce. So it's not like being in the oil industry where you have to keep pumping this stuff out because you got to keep things going and you're flooding the marketplace. But this is a different vibe. And also, we're in a period now where your biggest consumers among them were China and India. And now, as all of these economies are going down, so too are the purchases of gold. So our forecast is that gold may have a little period now, but when we see it go up, it's going to spike up, and we are forecasting it's going to go well above where it was in 2011. When I think it was about $1,927. We think it's going to go well past 2,000. Because 2,000, by the way, when it hit 850 back in 1980, adjusting for inflation, it should be at about $2,200.
All right, let's go. There is a very serious migrant crisis overseas. People are getting out of the way of these guys dressed in black, and they're doing it in droves and droves, and they're heading toward Italy, and maybe even guys in black are heading toward Italy. What's going on from that point of view?
Actually, I just got back from, I was in Italy, I was also in other parts of Europe. And throughout Italy, there's every way you say it's more than just the guys in black, it's the guys dropping the bombs. You go back to what's going on in Macedonia. And again, just reading the information and taking it for what it is. And they're saying that most of them are, and everybody sees it. These are kids, these are families, these are, yeah. And where are they coming from? Iraq. Yeah, how about that war in Iraq, huh? Afghanistan. It's only the longest war in American history. Hey, how about Syria? Assad has to go. So the countries that have destabilized all these areas, the people are flooding out. Now go over to Libya. When Gaddafi was in, he made a deal with Italy and the others. And he'll keep people from flowing out of Tripoli. They're not going to get out. They got paid for it. So Gaddafi has to go. They got rid of Gaddafi. Now that whole area is in turmoil. Where are they coming from? They're coming from Mali. They're coming from Eritrea. They're coming from Somalia and Sudan. They call it migration there. I mentioned before about the farming economies. They're coming from Ghana, they're coming from Angola, they're coming from Nigeria. All these resource-rich nations are now going bust. Now go south of the border.
By the way, we're jumping around. How is Greece doing?
They're doing lousy, and they're going to keep doing terrible because this is the other thing. They call it austerity measures, and it goes back to what I was talking about at the very beginning, which is big to fail. Here's the deal. The French, the German, and the Netherlands banks made bad deals by loaning the Greek government all this money. They can't pay it back, so they're saying to the people, well, you have to pay it back. And they're just banks. And then, by the way, I mentioned Mario Draghi before. Draghi, Mario Draghi, the head of the former head of the Goldman Sachs division in Europe, now European president of the central bank. He was the guy when he was with Goldman Sachs that cut the deal to get Greece into the Euro group, that's with the currency, when they were not suited to be in it. They broke the books to bring Greece into it.
Well, I'd rather have them there than here.
So now, going back to the migrant crisis, you're going to start seeing the same thing happening out of Venezuela, out of Colombia, out of Chile.
Actually, it is happening. The immigration crisis here in the U.S. is fed not as much by Mexico as it is from Central and South American countries. True.
And as these currencies and commodities continue to decline, and as these countries go down deeper, the people are going to leave. Now,
where are they going to come? They're going to come here.
Exactly, and into Europe. Now, just think of this number. They say that we inhabited the earth, for argument's sake, 100,000 years ago. So from 100,000 years to 1900, it took all of that time to put 1.6 billion people on the planet. Then 100 years later, we have what, 7.2 billion. Where are they going to go? So now you have wars going on. Oh, and going back to the commodity prices, how they're declining. Take a look over there in Saudi Arabia. They need oil to be at $100 a barrel to balance their budget. When the Arab Spring broke out in 2011, they dumped a ton of money into their economy to quiet the people down. Now Saudi Arabia is floating bonds, trying to keep going. They're also floating bonds and dropping bombs in Yemen, and that's not being reported. Yemenis have done nothing to the Saudis. They want to put back the government that they were imposed upon them. The United States is involved in this too. I'm mentioning this because you have 4 million Yemenis living in Saudi Arabia. There's a humanitarian crisis going on that's not being reported there. They also work in the oil fields. You're going to start seeing destabilization from all of this declining oil, from all of these oil-rich Arab nations. And I love it. They call it a kingdom, an emir. Yeah, you know what happened, Art? Once upon a time, a princess kissed a frog, and the frog became a king. How about calling dictators set up by the English after World War II?
Well, there's one thing, even on our phone, swimming when you're gone, it won't be our phone. It will be a problem of our children. And boy, they're going to have a big.
I think it's, as I look at it, I think of it as when you think of the founding fathers and you look at the age of them, they weren't kids. And I think it's really up to us that have been around a while. I was thinking, how long I've known you, and I mentioned I've been in the business since 1980. Sure. I knew 1980, when I knew 1990. Yeah, I look back and I didn't really know that much. And as I keep getting older and keep learning more, I believe I know more. And so I believe it's up to us. Yeah, I know. They don't like to say that in America because the elderly looked upon very fondly here. By the way, every day I thank the ancestors for my being, my breath, my body, my brain, my blood, and my bones. Well, it was very everybody up until things started changing. There was always a deep respect for the ancestors. And I really think it ended with our generation really killed it. And there was no such thing as teenagers in the 30s, and they called kids teenagers. And it wasn't things weren't oriented.
I don't know what did they call it.
Kids, I guess.
Listen, I can't resist. I know you forecast politically as well. And believe me, tonight you did the FA. I've been uninterested in politics for so long. I started doing it back how many ago, decade. However, now we have Donald Trump. And love him or hate him, which is whatever you do, or the other. He is interesting, and he is interesting to watch, and the Republican Party is kind of fun to watch too, because I don't know, it's like a worm being attacked and wiggling all around. And I wonder how this is going to all shake out. If you're a trans guy, what do you say?
Well, if I'm a New Yorker too, and if you go down from Wall Street to Columbus Circle to Fifth Avenue to the West Side, there's Trump everywhere.
I'm going to be my theory, and you can come with our I think this is simply, when you look at Trump support, it's the American people so angry and ready to burn it all down politically. And that's essentially what Trump burn it all down.
It's part of it. The other part of it is he knows what he's doing. I began my career, by the way, he's doing political campaigns in Westchester County in New York. At that time, the richest county in the U.S. I was the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate at 23. I was also chief of the Defense Force of Chemical Michigan, D.C. and Chicago.
Okay, that also looks
So I mean, what I'm saying is that these guys that he's running against are boys. These are the guys that hated at high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. So when I'm talking about Trump, this guy, he's driven. This guy knows what he's doing as far as doing deals. These guys are no match for him now. And you're 100% right. When you look at the polls over the years, what does Congress have? Like a 17% approval rating? He's turned this whole thing upside down. And again, I do not vote for him. I have a lot of things I don't like about him. But I believe at this point, if the elections were held today, it would be President Trump. Matter of fact, I also draw the analogy between him and Berlusconi in Italy. Another billionaire, when things are going down, the people look for a billionaire thinking that they're going to get rich too. This guy knows what he's doing.
Oh, we'd have a pretty good lady.
Yeah.
So, what would he be like if he actually got his, what I guess his wish is, and he became president? What do you think he'd be like?
Just what you say. And I believe he'd be tyrant Trump. He'd be just like, he'd be just like a Berlusconi. Look, I mean, he's talking about bringing guys in like we're more like our own. Yeah, wonderful.
I think it was from trying to end him.
Yeah. I mean, another deal maker. These guys make deals. They don't build. It's not a manufacturing-driven country anymore. When you look at where the money is,
Well, you might make good deals.
you may make good deals, and that's going to be his card that he's dealing. And again, we our Spring Trends Journal, the cover was Cowards, Liars, Freaks, and Fools. Welcome to the presidential reality show. Now, when we wrote it, it was before Trump got into it. Now you have a reality show champion playing in the presidential reality show. These guys are no match for him.
No, they aren't. I mean, he says that Bush is boring, and frankly, compared to Trump, Bush is boring. Now, it may be in the end President Bush again, but he's right. I mean, the guy is exciting. He's fun to listen to. He's fun to imagine somebody with those kind of cojones running things for a change. And so, what a phenomenon.
Yeah, and as I said, if the election were held now, he would win. It's difficult to say what's going to happen between now and, I mean, look how early they're starting this thing in 2016, November. But as the cards are playing now, he has no competition. These guys, I mentioned I worked up at the Senate. It was the worst job I ever had. I'd be talking to my buddy in the back of the chamber, and the senator would walk in, and my friend would leave me and follow the senator like a little puppy dog to his desk, pull out his chair, push him in, and help him sit down. And my friend would come back and I say, hey man, what's the matter? The cat can't sit down by himself? He needs some help? And they said, Gerald, you have that kind of attitude, you're not going to get very far over here. I said, you got it right, man. I'm not going to suck up to get my way up. That's what these parties are. These are boys.
All right, listen, we're coming to the end of this program. I want to give you a chance, promo, whatever you want to promo.
Well, of course, Trends Journal. Go to our website, trendsresearch.com. So it's not only the Trends Journal, it's 64 pages, full color, no ads, digital and print, highest quality, and it's history before it happens. And we also have a Trends Monthly, Trends This Week, and every weekday, Trends of the News. And we know that people are having a difficult time. There's a discount request for this year. We try to make it available to everyone so that we can help them prepare, survive, and prevail.
Well, my daughter's college fund is moving down because it's time to work, so I'm not happy about what's going on. Is it buy, sell, or hold?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say, But again, I don't give financial advice, but I'm bullish on gold.
All right, gotcha. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for being on.
Great being back with you.
Take care. Gerald Swartz. All right, coming up, Peter Robbins, Rendlesham Forest, UFO, Wednesday. I'm Mark Ellen. This is Midnight in Broadcasting. Switching gears now. How about Reynolds at 9? No? Well, it's one of the best known UFO incidents in world history. Right up there with what happened in Roswell. Peter Robbins is an investigative writer specializing in the subject of UFO. He has been involved in field for more than 35 years as a writer, researcher, investigator, lecturer, and a regular fixture on radio shows in the U.S. and UK. Peter has appeared as a guest on two numerous TV programs and documentaries, both on those related subjects for local, regional, national, and international conferences, public service groups, consorted schools, universities, business libraries, and scientific organizations. Peter is the co-author of the British bestseller, Left at the Speed, a first-hand account of the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. Its cover-up and investigation, as well as the author of Deliberate Deception, a case of disinformation in the UFO research community. Disinformation in ufology? It can't be. Peter Robbins, welcome. Hey, stranger, long time no speak. It's been a while, hasn't it? I saw you just had a sort of a problem there with your site before. Indeed. Well, if it does, I went through this one before last week, here, where it's like dying, coming back, dying, coming back. Yeah, so if that happens, I know my number. Yes, I know. I'll give you a timeline. All right, so. It is great hearing your voice again, and a lot of people, frankly, honestly, don't know what Rendlesham Forest is all about. It's been a long time. Give us a brief description of what happened. Okay, best kind of capsule description I can give you is on 3 consecutive nights between Christmas and New Year's, 1980, a series of UFO events happened over and around a highly secured pair of NATO bases, RAF Bentwaters, which had been leased to the Americans since World War II, and RAF Woodbridge, its sister base, an RAF base about 7 or 8 miles away. The bases are located in Suffolk, East Anglia, which is about 70 miles or so northeast of London, located in the southeast of England. On the first night, the main event involved 2 gentlemen who are fairly well known now from all the appearances, the fact that they had a book come out last year that they wrote with Nick Pope, called Encounter of the Rendlesham Forest. John Burroughs was in first class, a member of the law enforcement police. Jim Henderson was a sergeant and a member of the security specialist, security police on base. John observed a light go down in the woods from the east gate of RAF Woodbridge. It did not indicate a crash. There was no ground concussion, explosion, or fire. It was a very tense moment. In the Cold War, he radioed in for permission to investigate. Sergeant Patterson came along with Hamden Kavanicek. Kavanicek was also a security cop, and he drove Jim and John into the forest to agree that the vehicle could travel. They moved in on foot and encountered a machine of undetermined origin. Okay, so only 3 guys in them. Yes, we have moved toward this thing that didn't look like a crash, but a landing instead. Yeah, in the forest they go. They get up to it and they find what? Well, Kavanicek stays with the vehicle. He's watching them from a distance. It's in various treatments. They're the ones that have on the show to confirm it, but tapering up triangular looking map, the appearance of black glass. They observe, Jim observes that they're walking as soon as hardness, or whatever you want to call them. Two of them have missing time. They're not, everything is not accounted for. But the machine leaves impressions in the soil, which are documented the next day. Plaster casts are taken. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, we've got these witnesses staring at this damn thing, right? Okay, so they have missing time, which means maybe they don't remember, but before we talk about impressions, we've got to talk about rooftops. I mean, does he take off? What happens? Well, number one, Jim, in 2010, stated publicly something that he has felt privately for 30 odd years, which was when he touched one of the markings on the craft, a code downloaded into his head, which he believes is a message from the intelligences who are responsible for the event. I respectfully disagree with him on that. He feels that time travelers from the future contacted him at that moment with a message for humanity. And what is that message? Well, it is the coordinates, longitude and latitude of 6 locations, mystical locations around the world, including Sedona, Arizona, a mythical island, a sunken island off the coast of Ireland. I don't want to miss a temple in China, a temple in Greece, and 2 other locations, and a kind of stilted message that, with respect, sounds to me like kind of clips out of a science fiction movie dialogue. Nick Folk, who wrote the book with him, ponders whether or not it's a message within a message, and perhaps that will be broken someday, and within that, something about the longitude and latitudes. I have my problems with this aspect of the story. I do too. Oh, and I'm just hearing it. I am actually heard this before. I've heard about the sighting. I've heard the witness reports, but I've never heard this and put a message in my head. Oh, yes. And in fact, if you Google allegedly also a binary coded message, which Jim writes in their book 24 hours later. He remembered all the thousands of ones and zeros. And I'm not being facetious here. I mean, autistic people can find these extraordinary numbers in their head. It's just that human mind's amazing. But that he remembered all of them, wrote them out from 16 pages of notebook paper, got them right, and experts have been working with them. And who am I to say it's wrong? Although, again, I think, with respect, that this is something that was put in his head to create the impression, to create a bit of a shiny object for the slideshow, to take the attention away from the more stoic, boring.
All right, well, I hate to ask this, but I'm going to ask you. And something that he said on the spot happened was this something that he mentioned much later.
We had 2 things on that. Nick, who is the lead writer on the book, says it's a secret he kept for 30 years. But then we learned that he talked about it in hypnotic regression as early as 1994. And John Burroughs says that he never told him about it until October 1997. This is 29 years and 9 months later.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. We're humans. We tend to, when we tell a story again and again, sometimes we embellish some aspect of it. Because we always feel like we have to, every time we do an interview or write another book, we have to add something special. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm just saying that's him.
In Jim's defense, I don't think it is the case. I really feel that Jim received some kind of programming. All these guys were messed with, to use Charles Hall's term. They were all over in terms of stuff put in their heads after they were witnesses. What was done was unconscionable, frankly. And I think Jim was made to believe that this had happened. And I think it was a contingency plan. There are probably many in place for taking attention away off of, gosh, if we have a really full-scale UFO military situation, we've got to have things that will confuse it, destroy the thought. Again, sort of the
equivalent of your Kim Kardashian or your, a shiny object to take your attention away from the more hardcore, actual physical evidence, credible witness accounts supporting each other, etc. The kind of evidence you can bring into a court rather than a jury sense. And again, who am I to say? But this is the key event on the first night that Edison and Burroughs had a genuine, absolutely real, I have no doubt, encounter with a machine of undetermined origin, under intelligent control, missing time, memory lapses.
One has craft picked up by radar that's coming down in a very military type place, right?
Well, that is a great question. And we understand that first, remember this is 3 separate nights with different things happening on each night involving different base personnel and civilians in the area who are also catching parts of this. Right? At one point, several movements within town. Police officers kind of wander in and out of the scene. So it's a bit of a task force here. And yes, there are radar reports from this period of time from a number of military and civilian radar in the area.
I'm glad to hear you got that now. You said that it landed, there were impressions in the ground. We haven't put any much other than what apparently was a sort of mind wipe, except for what they downloaded. Some of these, how much witness testimony is there on getting of, oh my God, I saw it?
Well, number one, you've got John and Jim. You've got Ed Kavanasak, who is watching it from a distance. The lights were seen in the sky. Again, this one, we have the impressions in the soil. We have elevated data and gamma radiation counts, even though it's not minuscule. It's like 10 times the amount of the surrounding area. The area is studied very carefully the next day. The second night, one of the main things that happens is one of the few female personnel, Sergeant named Bonnie Tampa, temperate night, even though it's December, window rolled down in a military vehicle, and I guess a variation on what we would call a door flies into the cab, and she has a big problem with it. It shakes her up tremendously. She's taken off active duty. Lights are seen in the sky. But moving into the third night, we have, I guess, depending on your point of view, the 2 main events. Earlier on the third night, remember this is between Christmas and New Year's, there are parties going on base, especially for the officers. And a Captain Bruce England, who is associated with the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles I. Hall, approaches Mr. Hall for the party, and he says, "They're back." Hall, who had been skeptical but open to Edison and Burroughs' account, decided to leave the party, get some of his field clothes, pull together a contingent of, I believe, 6 individuals. They head out into the forest with night scope and other equipment. And at a certain point, and Mr. Hall, Colonel Hall at the time, has a microcassette recorder, which of course in '80 was like state of the art. And if anything's going to happen, he wants to record it. And it's now probably one of the best known audio clips in the realm of, texture for UFO documentaries, radio closings. And what happens is he and his men observed an unknown coming in directly over them. It was first played in early 1985 in then fledgling 24-hour news station CNN's very first 3 special reports. They've now done who knows how many hundreds. But Ted Turner, who of course owned it, he authorized Dr. Carl, a great tech and military reporter who you may be aware of, had quite a brush with Ted earlier this year. He and his wife were in Austin, and he had to killed the guy who was attacking him. Chuck is one of the best newsmen I've ever met. He is recovering, but he was badly. Anyway, he was dispatched. He was dispatched. The bad guy was. Oh, he was Chuck. I know the bad guy was. Chuck was authorized to do what amounts to a mini documentary for CNN. Okay, hold it right there. Hold it right there. The only reason I bring it up is because that's the tape of Colonel Hall recording this thing. Oh, here. Hold on. That's very good. All right. Stand by. Okay.
Once we get started, the chance to hold stop. Anybody in the desert on my My guest is Peter Robbins. We're talking about journalism. But you want to throw into this now. A lot of people feel really very strongly about this. Bobby and Coachella stretch through the wormhole, great countryside, every bit as important as Roswell, waiting for the moron. So, Peter, people feel very strongly about this.
Again, I've given you a capsule of the most important aspect of the first night. John Burroughs and Jim Penniston are your best guests for that. Second night transpires, and the third night again, the deputy base commander.
When you say third night, you mean they landed every night?
Well, they either passed over, landed, and were observed in the area, picked up on radar on 3 consecutive nights right between Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, there are other episodes in this part of England. It's a very limited piece of real estate with quite a history, and they've continued. But these series of events from the Revolution Force incident.
Before we go any further, we've got a bunch of photographs I believe at artfell.com that we brought to you tonight. What is up there? There's some shoppers.
Again, I sent over a bunch of photographs to your amazing producer Redacted, and I'm not sure which ones you're referring to.
No, I'm asking you. Are there shoppers in those photos?
Oh, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of new evidence, which we'll get to shortly, yes, one remarkable series of photographs which do constitute genuine new evidence for sure.
Okay, well that's really big stuff. So people will be going to the website, artfell.com. When they get there, what are they looking for?
Well, we have a number of documents up. We have a series of photographs that might hold it right now.
Yes.
My co-author, Larry Warren, a great guy who has been a dear friend of mine through the course of now 28 years. And we don't have anybody in terms of being a whistleblower, standing up for what's right, taking a tremendous amount of heat for 35 years. And a lot of that on his own before other witnesses came forward to cut to the chase. On the night of the event that he was involved in, which was the second event on the third night, he had picked up a new Instamatic camera. And, 110 film, some of your listeners may be too young to know about analog photography. But in the old days, we would buy a roll of chemical film and run it on a camera to see how it worked. And he was doing that day. And at a certain point, when they were heading back to base, he and some guys had been into Ipswich, the nearest small city. And they stopped, and he took a snapshot of an A-10 fighter aircraft landing in the distance. And it is a really pretty mundane snapshot. And I had seen it, more than a quarter century ago, among many dozens of pictures he took at that time. And Larry, over the time that we've been on Facebook, as we are, every couple of weeks or month or two, we'll post a bunch of service-related snapshots. Well, last August, we posted this picture, and one of our buddies in England pointed out, you know, it could have been a crack in the emulsion or dust on the original photo, but there was a dot in the sky above the A10. And another friend of ours, Robert Martin, flew it up with quite a bit of optical knowledge, and what he saw in the enlargement absolutely made my jaw drop. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. For decades, Larry has described the craft that he and the men with him faced on the ground in a farmer's field called Capel Green in the Rendlesham Forest on the third night. And there's a very particular aspect of the configuration. You know, if you do what I do, you have hundreds of thousands of people giving you, this is what the craft looked like kind of reports over the years. Most of them don't stick in your mind, but there was a structural detail where on the bottom, at the each edge, it kind of hooked around. So it's just sort of an elegant little detail. And he did his first drawing of it in 1982. In fact, in the home of Betty Andreasen. It ended up in the biggest tabloid in the world the following year with a story world. He did kind of a magic marker type drawing in 85. And we also did a drawing, and as if you were in the air looking down on the scene, people made sort of part of that detail. Anyway, the thing in the sky above this A10,
And I see it now, and Arnie, it is there, folks. You can see the A10. And then you can see what appears to be about the boy, oh boy, if you blow this up, as he has, what you have,
you know, the go-to guy on this for the past 30-odd years has been Bruce McAfee, optical physicist, the absolutely most respected photo analyst in the history of UFO studies. You know, retired now, writing books.
let me tell everybody how to get there. When you go to my website, listen to me, when you go to my website, folks, NFL.com, right up at the top, you'll see a picture of Peter Robbins. It looks like some kind of monster.
Thank you.
Click on that, and then you'll get to these other photographs. Man, look at that, above the A10. So if you want to see the strong, okay, go ahead.
Again, we don't have a negative. It may turn out someday. You know how these things are. But Bruce said, whatever it is, it's real. What's it? It's out there. This is, you know, in the old days, if you tried to fake something, it wasn't the elegant details with Photoshop. The first thing we'd look for with a 10-power magnifying glass was the cutout edge of the paper where it had been glued down on the photograph. I mean, it was pretty rudimentary stuff. Whatever it is, it's the real deal. And then again, our friend Robert Martin, who's in England, did this graphic schematic accounting for distortion in the air and things. You see the drawings Larry did, you see the schematics, you see the shape of it, and you know this is not your standard UFO. And the last thing I included was a screen grab of water, of something that looks like it came out of the same factory up on Alpha Centauri or wherever, over Wisconsin, just, 6 months ago, whatever. This, for me, is just a reminder that real evidence, this is not a time-sensitive matter. Recently, I had the last bit of the original soil that I had taken from the site of Larry's event and had it, I sent it back to the original chemist who had done the work, who was a very distinguished scientist. I'm glad I still stay in touch with him. I'm seeing him this weekend at a big conference called Experience Your Speak in Portland, Maine. And Matthew Moniz just put out the old sample. Sorry, Peter, I got to jump to you again. I'm sorry. Hold it right there. We'll be back. Got a 7-minute break. Have some coffee. No. Wait, no. Just sit there. We'll get right back to you. I'm Red Belt. This is Midnight Together.
Well, here's dumping. Was ongoing to Hunt. He said, Riddleton is developed over to IT. It won't find the case, but I would question if anybody's ability to not only recall binary code, but recall it in such accuracy that the result in the message that was revealed, it's verging on the Vegas level of chance. Any comment on that?
Only spot on. I couldn't agree with you more. This is a big problem for me, and the way I've trained myself to investigate the people I've worked with, Dearborn Hawkins, who met me for 35 years, and I worked as an assistant for about half that time. A great known investigator, city police officer named Pete Bizzola, who was also a very great role model for me. He'll begin with the most mundane, everyday explanation, and you investigate it fully. If it doesn't pan out, you go on to the next. And after a while, you may have something interesting. It's not as sexy, it's not as romantic or exciting, but I have a lot of, I just don't believe it. That it was going to travel from the future. It seems immensely more logical to me that this is what was put in Jim's head. Other things were put in other people's head.
Here's the problem here. Here's the problem. If you're in a courtroom and you're on trial for murder, your attorney, if you can manage to take the cop who was testifying against you, then prove that cop lied once. Yes. And then he can make the argument successfully to the jury that the whole thing is not worth validating. It's the one because he lied. He lied once, lied twice, lied. I'm not saying he lied. I'm just saying if you don't believe it, then you can make that extension.
I don't believe he's lying. I believe on a very deep level, although, as Nick writes in the book, in public he's adamant about this, but he has his doubts in private. He should have his doubts in private. It's totally untenable, and it's another thing that I do not like about that book, that Nick goes to great lengths to explain it in a ways that never once pays lip service to the possibility that this is an implanted thought and plan programming operation to take attention away from a serious evidence that, again, isn't quite as sexy or tabloid oriented or potentially sensational. It's also taking the attention of a lot of people who are caught up on almost, time travel this and time travel that. A lovely topic, fascinating, research on it, but let's stay focused on the other way of doing it.
And I'm not saying that something could not have been printed that he might be made to remember.
Exactly, it happens all the time. Sure. The history of mind control, brainwashing, or just implanting subtle thoughts. So for me, part of what happened to these guys is certain things were put into their heads to confuse their actual memories, so that when they started to talk about them, they would be perceived as a crackpot, somebody who was a bit on him, somebody with mental problems, and part of that has really helped cast doubt on otherwise extraordinarily well-documented military testimony of so many of these guys.
That's right. No, it's a very well-documented story. It's a very well-documented story. So I think it's every bit as big as Roswell. I think that some of what you have brought us tonight is very important. Some people are going to love this program. Please.
Well, you have to thank Larry Warren for that, and our friend Jane, Nick Sayer, and Robert Mortimer for discovering it, and Robert for laying it out schematically for us. It's a wonderful thing to remember about evidence. In certain areas, it's so much time that you can unearth it. It's as fresh and important and supportive of your case as anything you can find at the moment that the thing happens.
All right, so I want to thank you for breaking it here tonight. I mean, that's wonderful that you bring it to us. I take it that people in the UFO community in general have had a sneak peek at what you're dropping on us tonight, right?
No, they haven't.
They have.
I have a small circle of friends that I've been talking to in this nearly 5 weeks that I have been working nonstop, investigating, researching, fact-checking, lining up my documents. I've been in that place, that writer's dream. At the same time, I wish to Elmer Foley that it would have been any other subject. This has not been a pleasant period of time for me, and although it's great to be back on your show, Art. It's great to be back in contact with you. I hope I'm invited back as a guest again. But this is not a fun night for me. It is a very important night in terms of what we're going to be discussing. But it's not pleasant. It's not nice. It's simply the truth. And I discussed this a little bit with a colleague on a small radio show the middle of August into last week, so it didn't really get out there. I have only shared the manuscript with a handful of people, including you, and I'm now working with my editor and publisher to tighten it up. And what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of rough stuff. But, you know, we didn't get into this business.
No, I'm set for rough stuff. When you say rough stuff, you mean
I mean, naming names, saying things about people that are not nice, just true. Documenting everything I say.
why do we need to do that? Why do you okay? Lay it out. Why do you yes, why?
Well, I guess because it's an important truth for me, certainly, as somebody that's been involved on and off, but to a great degree in work on this particular case for 28 years. And, you know,
All right, let's cut to the chase. You're in some kind of tangle with Cook, right?
oh, it's mine to compare to this. Nick, last year in his book, which really is his book, John and Jim, you know, are the secondary authors even of their story. And the book is called Encounter in the Ocean Forest. Yeah. In it, Nick, who had been a good friend, and I will always wish him out personally, but he pulled something that I found pretty important. Namely, he weaves a thread of information throughout the book that I was able to, it jumped out at me because I told him to Bull that he was addressing in his derogatory comments.
No, derogatory in what matter, please?
Well, if you have read the book that Larry Warren and I read, there's, like any book, a nonfiction book, there's certain information that's only available in that book. And about a dozen times in his book, he makes reference to that information with reference to my co-author, Larry Warren. But he does not supply the proof that we have to back it up. He makes Larry appear like kind of a lone wolf who has no one to back him up. He consciously leaves out the evidence that would negate his allegation, and all in sort of a poor Larry, we know he's a troubled fellow and he's a loner kind of sensibility, which I really resented. And what I was able to do was establish that he had the information, and in each case chose to either exclude it or distort it in a manner that, again, was deliberately deceptive. It really formed a pattern where everything that touched on our book, which was printed once, but cited 10 or 12 times. And Nick says that, no, it's all of the credits are in there, but they're not. For example, regarding the suicide of a man after this event, Nick refers to it as a rumor that nobody could back up. Well, Larry was one of the first two responders on the scene where this young man had blown his head off. And it kind of radicalized my co-author, to put it mildly. He knew this kid. He had had a great deal of trouble in the debriefing. And the person who picked up on it and kind of championed trying to get to the bottom of it was not Nick. Well, certainly he was in the MOD at the time. But the deputy base commander, Charles I. Hall, dismisses it. But in fact, a former chief of staff of the Ministry of Defense a legendary guy named Admiral Lord Peter Hoover, a tough son of a gun who thought most everybody in UFOs were ballers, unless you're okay with Timothy Good, because Timothy Good, ace writer and researcher on UFOs in the UK, he not only respected, but he looked forward to his, I guess, most popular and influential book about top secret. And Larry and I met with Elmore. He took Larry's case very seriously. It was Larry who broke the story to Paul Norton, again, a former chief of staff of the Ministry of Defense. And in 1980, he had nuclear ordnance at RAF headquarters. He was not aware of it and went on to confirm it and went ballistic. And this is sort of dismissed in their book. Nick is fair in asking us to consider Larry's feelings. At one point, he discusses an allegation that is very true. And he says Larry's long witness, completely ignoring the fact that we have testimony from two other Air Force witnesses in the book that back up Larry's confirmation of what he saw. This is dirty fool, and it is intentional, and it's a shame because, again, as a person, I like Nick Pope. We were good friends for many years. I can only guess at why he decided to do this, and I guess why. Well, I think, again, starting with the most mundane, in a way, he is a career man in the MOD. He loves his country. He is loyal to his government. He is a loyal servant of the Queen of England, if that's the right terminology. I mean, he takes it seriously, and I'm not being facetious here at all. I respect him for it. And in 1997, when our book came out, its first edition, it was June of 97, America, UK, UFO Crazy. Nick's first book was coming out that same summer. He stayed with his house guest. He helped us actively to promote our book, even though it was competing with his book, because he believed in it that much. And what ultimately happened is our book went to the top 10 bestseller list, and I'm proud to say for several, either a month or so, we were several points ahead of John le Carré's newest novel, which was very surreal to me. But I think over the years that passed, Nick regretted giving us that help because when that book became popular, this minor scandal broke around an American nuclear treaty violation with the United Kingdom. And that's the most mundane. So this goes down to what interview? Jealousy? No, that he helped us. Yeah, I got that. Right. And then it was then embarrassed his then was sorry that he helped you. Well, I think in retrospect, he definitely was, because it was an embarrassment to Her Majesty's government and to the Ministry of Defense. And the one quote that I'd like to read tonight, and will take all of 20 seconds, is from the back of our first edition. So you and your listeners can understand how we felt about our book when it came out. This book is dynamite. Larry Warren and Peter Robbins have done an excellent job in blowing the lid off a UFO case that could be bigger and more sinister than Roswell. There is much in this book that will make you angry, and rightly so. It raises serious questions about just how far certain people will go to prevent the truth about UFOs ever becoming public. The book is meticulously researched, gripping, provocative, and will undoubtedly lead to some long overdue questions being asked at the highest levels. This is a sensational book, and no matter what the skeptics and the bunkers may say, this story is not going away. Ministry of Defense. Things change.
Sorry about that. So, all right, so
if we add it up, though, maybe he was asked, maybe he was ordered. I don't know. You know, he's retired from the Ministry of Defense, but let's not be naive here. There are certain positions and organizations that you never fully leave. You're an asset in place, a member of the Old Boys Network, a friend of the family, and you can be called upon for favors. I don't know. I settled for the most regulation thing, and I'm sorry that he felt compelled to do it because it shattered.
obviously you're hurt. you want a debate with him on this?
Oh, yes, I'd love to. He's turned down 10 opportunities so far. It won't face me simply because I went to a great deal of trouble to establish these case evidence that proves, and I think for any rational reader of deliberate deception, especially if they compare it to their reading of Encounter in the Rendlesham Forest, and he really has no defense, and it's embarrassing. I'd love to be against him.
All right, I want to, if Nick will agree to it, I'd love to do it, but here's the thing that I want to lay on you, and you can go ahead and comment. Ufology has a lot of problems, of the kind we're talking about right here.
I'm going to call myself the apologist.
People just go on, whatever you call yourself, I don't care. That's fine. All right. But among people who interest in lots and lots of fiction, like we're hearing described, that's right. And it doesn't mean anywhere good. It ends up damaging everything. Now, Rendlesham is absolutely one of the most important cases we can even talk about.
There's no case more important that the research community has to work with. Absolutely true.
So you're sort of damaging things when you do this, right?
Yes and no. For anybody that knows me, and you've got people in your audience that know me, I'm sure. Yes. I am an almost pathologically nice person. I care about people. I've got a lot of friends who are well-known colleagues. I go out of my way to nurture those friendships, and I'll tell you the truth, they're a lot more important to me than what I'll laughingly call my career in UFO studies. However, I have a pretty strict code that I go by, and it has to do with telling the truth. We all make mistakes, but when you go out of your way to distort, to lie about, to completely twist the facts in a manner that I feel crosses an ethical line and misleads people and sometimes hurts people. You know what? The truth is more important than why can't we all get along and kumbaya? And if, let's face it, the outside world is looking at grown-ups that devote their life to the study of UFOs and other things like that as one step away from being, kind of sideshow entertainment. My goodness, they actually believe in this stuff at all. And we're all supposed to present a common front, look nice on TV, speak properly, present ourselves accordingly. I do. However, I think it makes me a bit wistful and unhappy because I had to do it again very recently. I'm probably going to develop a reputation as somebody who's going to be trouble. I just want to get back to the work that I was doing, which is fascinating and not attacking anybody because it doesn't have to do with people completely going out of your way to deceive, to attack, to demean, and to disinform, to disinform. And basically, the second half of our show tonight, this is the topic that we have to tackle, and I frankly wish it was any other way, but I want to avoid it.
Well, I don't know how much further you've got to go, then you've gone.
Oh, we haven't even started yet, right?
Yeah. Not serious, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, I wish Nick was here.
Well, it doesn't have to do with me.
No?
Not really. No, it has to do with somebody else. And if it's the main reason that, we can go on and talk about other aspects of Rendlesham and the state of UFO studies. But I have an important story that I've been developing as an investigative writer for 12 hours a day.
You got it. All right. All time, all that. I guess coming up next. I want to know this is the Night in the Desert.
Going on about it. And so back to him, it's all yours, sir.
Yeah, essentially, in many major cases, there are disagreements and colleagues come at it with different theories, agendas, what have you. Okay? But there are certain things that we can all agree are factual. And they can establish themselves, and for me, I think in terms of courtroom quality evidence, obviously, as a parent studies, we don't always have that luxury. But last month, something happened that did set me off, and I had a lot better things to do with my time, but like sometimes you're in a spot where you've got to take an action that you'd rather not. Last month, the former deputy base commander of RAF Bentwaters, a now retired United States Army colonel named Charles I. Hull, gave a talk in Woodbridge, Suffolk, England, which is the town closest to where all these events happen, right? And he had been invited back to speak about his experiences, and tickets were sold, and I was coming back the day that he spoke, which was on the 11th of July. I had just flown back to New York City from Roswell, where I'd been for a week. And I had business there, so I didn't get to really look at the video of his presentation until about the 14th of the month. And to say it distressed me would be an understatement. It distressed you why? Well, the first, I guess it was 2 hours or so, all the first part is what I would have hoped it would have been. You've got an officer, a commanding officer, who was not only involved in a command position, deputy base commander, major air base at the time of an extraordinarily important UFO incursion, but got caught up as a witness as well, an actual eyewitness, has actually made statements. So he had stepped out of the service that whatever he and his men saw that night was not made by any government on earth. How can you not applaud somebody like that? He has become part of what we'll call our UFO research community. He speaks at conferences. He's been on documentaries, television, radio shows. Very good. You should be aware that his name comes up, I think, about 15 times in Left and Escape, and never is anything ever said disrespectful, condescending, mean-spirited. Certainly, as far as I'm concerned, inaccurate.
Okay, so what did Charles say is so bad?
Yeah. For the last half hour of his talk, he simply switched gears and he directed every comment, dozens and dozens of data points, at my co-author Larry Wong, who is the whistleblower, who is the person that broke this case wide open, made it the situation happen that went totally worldwide in October of 1983. Well, I can spend the rest of the show literally going over the point by point. My point is that when I listened to it, being very familiar with the book that I co-wrote, and at points he says on page 67 of Left and Escape, Warren said this, but in fact it was this. I recognized something that not only shocked me, but threw me for a loop. And I felt I had to document it, which was, and all right, let me just say one thing here. I'm sure at the beginning of your show you have a disclaimer that, you know, the views of your speakers are not those of the broadcast company or Art Bell. I'm just going to repeat that right now so everybody knows, because if anybody's going to get in trouble here, it's going to be me. What I'm about to say is purely my view based on extremely substantial evidence that I've spent some,
Well, look, at this point, you're all cold people anyway.
so yeah, what's the deal? Well, the deal is that if he said 40 things relative to Larry Warren, the book, and myself, 37 of them and I'm, cutting an abstract here, were completely untrue. He stood on that stage and he told those people in that audience one thing after another was not true.
All right, let us at least understand a couple of points, specific things that you're talking about. That were said in the book that he said were untrue. I want to understand something important in that category.
So you want me to start to cite the examples?
I want you to take the most egregious examples and give us an idea of what you're talking about. Yeah, sure.
I'm quoting here when I give the statement, because I don't want to paraphrase what he says. The sound quality wasn't great, but these are the statements and then my back response to it. Referring to Larry, who was unsuitable. He was literally booted out. Unsuitable? Unsuitable in what way? Well, exactly. Charles Hall wants you to think that he was literally booted out of the Air Force as unsuitable. In fact, not only was he not unsuitable, but he received a 3910 discharge, which means that the Air Force has broken its contract with the individual and is at fault. And so that individual has the right to leave the Air Force with 100% honorable discharge with no blemish against their name because the Air Force screwed up. I can tell you how that happened and what happened. But also, the Air Force have taken a gentleman, a security specialist who was undesirable and unsuitable, and 3 weeks after the event, make him part of a very small, highly selected contingent that was flown to West Germany to meet the American hostages returning from Iran and supply them security, and also keep it absolutely top secret, because as you may remember, it was crucially important to the incoming Reagan government that news be released immediately as the president was sworn in. In March, that same 3 months after the event, he was chosen to be honor guard for Wing Commander Gordon Williams' testimonial, secure General Hawking, who part of the security detail, and his driver. Also, while he was in the 81st National Security Corps, they received a group commendation. In no way was he unsuitable or undesirable. That's what this man wants you to think. I call that egregious. Moving on. Here he says, for those of you who have read Left of Escape, I'd like to give you some updates and some potential corrections that Mr. Warren and his co-author can put in their book. If you look at page 39, he said the base was on alert. The base was not on alert. We were at a party, a social event. There was no alert. Well, Charles Hall and some of the officers may have been at a party, and that's very nice. It was between Christmas and New Year's. But if you go to the international news section or the front page of any major American newspaper or European one, you will see what the crisis was, and it was major. The Soviets had massed a huge number of troops on their border with Poland because of the pro-democracy movement that was emanating out of the Gdansk shipyards. The fighter aircraft, the A-10s, the 48 A-10s that were stationed at RAF headquarters weren't there. They were in West Germany at forward operating locations because if the Soviets rolled over that border, we were in a shooting range. There was a tremendous alert going on at those bases all over England and all over Europe. The fact that he was at a party does not matter. If you go to page 42, and this is Charles Hall's words, he claims, Larry, that we had this captain at the motor pool. There were no captains at the motor pool. There were 2 security police captains, something and Delano. Guess where they were at? They were at the party. Well, they were at the party. But after he left the party, they left the party. And this is a quote from a letter that was sent to us after he read the book by Captain Mike Verano.
Okay.
He was at the motor pool.
Yeah. Peter, this seems to me to be a dispute between the two of you, and I don't know whether it's of much interest to my audience or not, for you to get on the air and fire back at somebody. It's like, oh, yeah, I understand discussing others, but to just get on here and have a dogfight, that's the point. Well, especially when the other dog's not here to fight.
Fair enough, and I'd be happy to go on to other topics and return to this show with Colonel Paul. Except that every point that I'm making here, it's not a dispute, Art.
Yes, it is.
Well, it is, but it's based on my being able to establish that he was not truthful and that we've been able to do that. But in case Larry was,
For example, in his case, and in your case right now, saying it does not make it so, or at least, you can't prove it to me.
fair enough. That's why I'm publishing around it in about a week and a half and just wanted to let your listeners know that this was going to be fully documented in written form.
I know if you want a forum to get together and go at it with all, or whoever you want to go at it with, fine. But I just don't see that you're gaining anything by doing this on the air right now. Really, I don't.
And I'd be honored to return to the show with Mr. Holmes and with Nick Pope. I think you're going to find that they will both demur and not want to do this on the air or any other place.
Well, let's find out.
Yes,
By all means, what the listeners think about this and whether they think it's a good idea, whether it's productive, or whether it's just going to harm everything that's already harmed enough, frankly, in this whole area. So what I would like to do is invite you on the call. Maybe it's not hitting you the way it's hitting me, but I think I've described, frankly, how it's hitting me. So anybody willing to call, willing to discuss this, let's do it. It is controversial. It's, here's our number, area code 952-225-5278. I want to know how this is hitting all of you. Again, area 952-225-5278. And of course, the Skypes, North America at MI2D51. And outside of North America, at MITD55. I'm going to break here, giving you an opportunity to chime in. Maybe these are critically important details to the whole thing, but I'm not sure explaining them in this manner is productive. You tell me. Those of you who want to comment, I'm just giving you my perspective. Just to be there, just to clarify about the other around. Call number 952-225-5278. Tonight at MITD51 for North America and MITD55 for the rest of the world. But again, I need to take it wrong. I'm sorry, but I swear I read it. I feel used. I'm just like using me just to blast away here, and I don't like it.
I appreciate that, and I'm sorry you feel that way, Art. Look, it's your show, and it's my first time back as a guest, but
Yeah. All right, I know that. I'm going to take some calls. Let's see how the audience feels about it. Amy, on Skype, you're on here.
Hi, Art. Thanks for having me again on the show.
Okay, back off a little bit. You're very loud, Amy. Back away a little bit. Okay.
I just wanted to know how this dispute is so critical to the suggestion that Rendlesham could be bigger than the Roswell incident.
Okay.
it's a great question. I think the main thing that we're dealing with here is the seminal event that set the whole modern age of UFOs into motion. And I take Roswell very seriously. I have a lot of respect for the folks that have done the work on it. I was a consultant to the city.
But don't you feel that this dispute area like it just does the whole Rendlesham thing damage?
No, but I would respect the fact that if other people do, then we should turn on maybe attention to.
Well, I mean, if you're arguing over the facts of the case,
Sorry, I disagree with you there. These are not arguing over the facts of the case. It's over presenting information to an audience that's simply not true, repeatedly.
okay, but saying that and then just getting into a dogfight over it, but that does compromise the case itself. I mean,
I know compromises the human beings that are involved in points of view on the case.
Robert, what do you say?
Well, I just want to know how it could be bigger than the Roswell incident. That's all I want to know.
All right, go ahead, answer that question, why don't you? How can it be bigger than Roswell?
Well, it's not bigger than the crash that set everything off. What it is it's 34 and a half years old rather than 68 years old. Almost all of the principals are alive, are there to be questioned, to give testimony. The evidence is multiple. It's not, I think we're comparing apples and oranges here. One is the seminal case in UFO history. The other one is the most active, important one we have to work with today that has parts of everything that we look for in a UFO investigation in one case, with credible witnesses, lots of actual scientific and documentary evidence, but it's not a contest who's bigger.
Okay, all right, that answers it. Hello there, I'm phone, you're on the air with, Peter.
Hey, this is Bob Motola. Yeah, I think personally it's more important to discuss the actual event for people who aren't aware of it as much color than to just talk about two different sides arguing about something. Because I mean, it does sound like it's a very significant event. It's very interesting. Personally, I think there's two possibilities. That it's, I don't think throwing up the time travel aspect is a good idea. Or a very interesting one. And the other one could be maybe it was a future military test to see how the base would react to what occurred.
Interesting. You can't rule that out, can you, here?
Well, for any of us to say what is or isn't when it comes down to it. For me, these are entry level questions. They've been batted around for decades now.
Entry level?
Well, in that, for those folks that have been looking at this case, examining it, reading about it, visiting the area, networking with other people, these things will all come up. For most people, the way to really begin to appreciate the depth of this case is to begin to read the available literature on it. There are a number of great documentaries on it. You can visit the area itself. If you download the free book that I put online last year, it has over 300 pages of data, military documents, letters, memos, maps. You can become something of a party and examine that data for yourself.
And I argue that's just fine. Next, I'm telling you around here.
Hello, this is Art Bell.
It is, hi.
Wow, you're not a mirage. You actually are the real thing, emerging from the desert.
Yes, you're right, I'm a real thing.
Well, I guess because I'm one of those people who are not familiar with this event. And very quickly, Mr. Robbins, you mentioned that Larry Warren is a whistleblower. And if he is a whistleblower, what did he say or do or say that would cause such consternation amongst the military?
That's a great question, and I apologize to everybody who is not familiar with this. What I should do is, now that folks know that I have an issue with this and that I will be responding to it in print, it'll be out in a week or so. I'll send you folks the link and you can put it online and read it for yourself. Yeah, let's take these questions. Larry Warren was a security police officer involved on the third night who decided that what was not only the event itself, but what these men were put through after the fact. to frighten them, to keep them quiet, to confuse them, resulted in lifelong post-traumatic stress for many of them. Ask Henderson, ask Burns, ask Adrian Bustinza, who's going to be doing an interview for the first time ever on radio the night after this. Larry decided that when he left the service, suffering, angry, and all those health problems, that he had to find a way to make it public. And he looked for an honorable discharge. And then in late 1982, he met a couple who introduced him to, I'm sure you remember this name, Art, Larry Fawcett. Larry was a Connecticut State police officer who was also a UFO investigator. And he partnered up on a book called Clear Intent, which is one of the first books to talk about the cover-up. And it was actually the first book in print with something on the Rendlesham event. The first book on Rendlesham came out within a month or so anyway, called Sky Crash. Well, Larry Warren did an extensive series of interviews with Larry Fawcett. And Fawcett and his writing partner, Barry Green, a ufologist and archivist, put that information into the form of Freedom of Information Act action. That FOIA resulted in the release of a single-page document on Air Force Dictionary, even though it minimized the events, it redacted it, made it 2 days of free, written 2 weeks after the fact. For many years, until the Ministry of Defense started to release information, that was the only piece of paper officially confirming the event, and it was written and signed by the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Hall. That paper found its way to England, and on October 2nd, 1982, it exploded on the front page of the biggest tabloid in the world, with false name all over Larry also got under surname, and that hurt his career tremendously. And Warren, my co-author, is the man who is responsible for getting this story out. That's how. So Larry knew how to get a whistleblower. Yes, he whistleblower. Does that help me, Paul? Or did it confuse you?
Well, I guess I'm going to hear something someone said earlier about, are we looking back at ourselves with this event occurring? And Mr. Robbins, you were saying some people were abused or manipulated mentally or emotionally, and I'm just curious as to why this occurred in the first place. And I think I'm thinking about this, Art, because you had a guest on earlier, a different show, but basically he was able to communicate. He was able to communicate past the speed of light. You recall this show, Art, with using DNA and.
Well, I recall, yes, I guess talking about DNA in technology not yet developed.
Right, and you started that show about talking about quantum mechanics or quantum physics. These are theories, and it's fascinating, but it's actually mind-blowing at the same time, right?
Right.
Okay, so kind of just summing that up very, very basically. But I'm thinking if we're communicating already, or have the potential to communicate differently as we have up to this point, other than using radio waves, and we're having visitors from other universes visiting us. I'm kind of confused in the sense of, are we communicating already, or are we? This is where it just blows my mind, where we're trying so hard over decades and decades to communicate to see what's out there, yet we're being visited by beings that are not like us. Or are we looking back at ourselves already, that they're already here? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Not really. But you said it with conviction. So I'm not exactly sure what you said. I do understand that people thinking about all this can kind of get confused and get off base. And again, Peter, I'm just blown away at all the bizarre ufology. This is plenty of ufology. However it is you want to put it, the Rancor is difficult to use. In the high desert, unlike now, this is Gotta love that one. I'm going to gotta love it. I'm gonna let you watch this coming up. I've got messages program. We will one screen of the latest messages. Okay, here they come. From Chuck. You're right, Art. Your guest is being argumentative. Sounds like a crybaby. I'm not good. Or you can skip the rest of the show. Glad you feel the same way. Sent a message earlier on here. Then you expressed the same feelings on the air a few minutes later. I was excited for a classic UFO landing discussion, but what we got in this for is a petty fight. Thanks for speaking out. Or from Jocko, New York City. All right, sounds like this guy's going to fly. What a baby. Totally discredits himself. Let the accused, which isn't him, defend themselves. Or D, initially. Hey, Art, I gotta say, if for old time's sake, this guest is wrong. Mary, I hate to be negative, but this guy seems like a lying, pretentious punk. Scott in Andover. Well, I'm enjoying the show tonight. I don't feel a good use of their time, though, to discuss nitpicking between Lieutenant Colonel Faults and Mr. Robbins. Mark says, I think the dispute being aired right now is not necessarily compelling radio, but it is very illustrative of the noise in this field that muddles the waters so badly. How much is disinformation and how much is ideological headbutting? And finally, Allison, that's where our screen ends at home. What I heard was petty, pressing, and unprofessional, or not professional. Let me tell your guest, please tell your guest to air his dirty laundry elsewhere. Most people don't want to hear this kind of thing. Your guest is making the other guy look better. And it kind of probably gets worse from there. What do you think, Peter?
Well, I think I made the wrong decision to take the course that I did on the show, and I'm sorry I disappointed your listeners.
Well, I think it's just that, a lot of people think it's unfair when the other guy is there. That's why I agree. Or you must be aware that Larry Long and kind of are the boys that when Charles Hall and things about it that were untrue. How could they bar you?
He stipulated that Larry Warren would not be allowed in the hall if he showed up even with his 20 pounds. And that's a fact that is shocking.
So even if that's a cost to get in front of that.
Yes, that's what they charge.
Well, he should have tested it then, brought his 20 pounds, laid it on the line, and see if they actually burn out.
It was made very clear to us, and you can check that out with Mr. Holt in the conference room.
Well, I'm going on an argument. Just I can't. Trans Cities, you're on here alone.
Hello.
Yes.
The aspect of the story where the person touches the craft or whatever it is and starts receiving this information.
Right.
When were those claims first made?
Well, publicly, they were made on the night of December 28th, 2010, at a small conference we had in Wood, Virginia.
And this was how long after the incident?
30 years almost to the day.
30 years.
Well, I have some criticism of that because there was a very popular video game that came out in November of 2007, which plot point, has basically that exact same scenario playing out.
Maybe you scroll through a video.
Quite possible. Exactly, basically exactly the same thing. An alien artifact, the person touches it, and he starts having these visions that, and basically it sounds basically the exact same thing.
Well, first of all, we really should have Jim Paxton and John Burroughs on the show. I'm talking, as an outside investigator of not even their case. If that's the case, the one thing I do not believe is that Jim created this. I think he's a true victim. And I think he believes this happened to him. He's so involved and invested in it that it's very difficult to back out now.
Maybe it's really hard to buy into anything that suddenly pops up 30 years later. Scott, Louis, you're on the air.
Thank you. I would like to respond to Mr. Bell's question and ask a question based on your testimony on Dr. J's show just prior to your show, Mr. Bell. I'm a big fan of Peter's, and I agree with him. It's pathological bias based on my experience. I personally am very interested in Rendlesham, down to the details. I've read every book and so forth, including Georgina Bruni's book. What I'd like to see is Mr. Bell lead a discussion between the parties, and see if that leads to a reconciliation, or that would be the ideal goal, even if it's.
That's much better idea than a one-sided,
Okay, thank you. I agree with
Thank you, Jay.
I'm almost out here. Then you could go on and dig out the new or more people who've seen the UFO. I'd like to see more witnesses dug out. And then I have a second question.
Basically, Charles Paul did what I've been accused of doing. He barred the person that he spent half an hour attacking from entering the room, and was told, Larry was told, I was told, he showed up. I was given dispensation later because I said I'd behave myself if I went. But we were told that, and John Burroughs as well, I would not be allowed in the room.
Okay, you don't really know if you're barred until you show up with money and slide.
Okay, hold it. You're both doing it again. You're both talking. Hold on. Peter's finished.
All I'm saying is that I would like to be a part of any tour where I could sit down and discuss these things with Nick Pope, Colonel Hall. They will not sit down with me, and I'm certainly.
We'll find out. Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll find out about that. While we're there, the second question was on Dr. J's show, just prior to your show, the congressman was on, and I called in, and the congressman said that there's been a new development that Sergeant Peniston has reached an agreement with the government that the government will give Sergeant Peniston his medical records. Very safe for Sergeant Peniston showing up. Now, those are my words. All right. Now, you know anything about that? Are you aware of that? No. Yes.
So, let's go here. Where we here?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yes, I want to ask a question regarding the UFO, and Mr. Robbins is not very forthcoming with his information that is.
What is he not forthcoming about?
He's trying to cause problems in the community. It's very hard to understand.
Okay, well, so are you, though.
Everybody doing to cause problems?
You don't have facts to back up what you say.
Oh, no, I do have facts to back up what I say. Very much so. What? Let's get specific. What are you talking about?
He's going. That's right. We'll just move on, because he didn't have anything to back up what he was saying. Hi, Gary, you're on the air.
All right, it's great to hear you back.
Good to be here, thank you.
Two things. Number one, great seeing us last night that you're asking about the radio and everything. Shout out to the Orgo Midnight in the Desert fans on Facebook. Okay, Peter. If I wanted to go this route, and I'm kept all disappointed with tonight's show, I would have stayed home with my wife and watched the Young and the Restless. It's just, you say you're a writer, you've had plenty of time to write this stuff up, your issues with this guy, it gets hard, put it on his website, say, hey, read this, and put it on without other things. I'm just wondering.
To me, it does a disservice to the whole, I don't know, the whole field. And it's not the right way to do it. You know, these are really important facts. I'm sorry. These are really important facts that folks should be here, folks should be here. We should be, yeah. Otherwise, it's just a smear fest.
Well, that's not responding to it. Smear fest, that happened.
Everybody thinks that they're being smeared or misquoted or lied about or whatever. Everybody feels that way, and they've got their own version of facts.
It's still being talked about over and over and over. And, you know, if you provide those facts online, or if you, like you said, you write a
that there will be a cookout on this in about a week and a half on it. Well, you're sorry I even said anything you want.
Okay, then in a week and a half, the trouble can be known, right? Indeed. That would have been the time to do this, in my opinion. In a week and a half.
You're right. It was a bad judgment call on my part, and we should have done a show on another subject.
We should. Jason, you're on the air. Oh.
Hi. I just wanted to give a shout out before I talk to you about Dark Matter News being awesome tonight. Your guest seems to me like a sort of politician of UFOs. Every time somebody brings up a question to him, he sort of steers it to his grudge, and I don't know. I don't think.
Well, that's what he came on tonight to talk about this grudge. No doubt about it.
And it's just weird radio. It's the weirdest radio I've heard in a long time.
Well, radio is all kinds of things. Sometimes weird.
It's awesome. You do it the best.
Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. And let me move on to the phone. You're on the air with Peter Robinson.
Hi, Art. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We're the master of the late. You kept your cool very well, as I thought of. Nobody really wants to hear a chicken fight live on the air when there's only one chicken. Yes, rendition for symptoms have been talked about a lot. It's on the internet, it's everywhere. I would like to delineate points that are very hard to understand. Maybe some facts that are not well known by the public. For example, the binary code that telepathed into his brain. And that was talked about many times. I would like to hear something about that. And I can still hear something about that. What I do not want to hear is any more chicken fights. I have enough chickens on my own.
All right, so the binary thing, the binary code, decoded, says H1R. Here. Well, Peter,
Once again, you really are talking to the wrong person. All I have is out of the book. It is a series of 6 longitude and latitudes of mystical locations around the world, right? A number of,
but no message to mankind. No message to mankind in the year 1800. So no message to mankind beyond those locations.
Theorizes that there may be a message within the message, and that someday the experts will crack it. My feeling is it is what it is, and it's a shiny object that's taking attention away from more serious aspects of the case.
On the phone, you're on the air.
Hey, Peter.
Yes,
Peter?
Yes.
listen,
I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. Even if he was smearing you or lying about things, isn't it more beneficial for the UFO community that you said gets little respect anyway? If you focus your thoughts and your actions on what you can control, which is your work and the positive impact you can have?
I have focused my thoughts on my work for 35 years. I have had a positive impact. I will have this ebook coming out very within the next week and a half or 2 weeks, and people can come to their own conclusions after reading it.
Well, the problem I have with it is the infighting. It's the profit infighting. That's when everybody is divisive. That's when it tears the whole thing apart.
You know, I agree with you 100%. And there's one thing of infighting and bickering and people disagreeing. It is another thing, and this is my only basic premise, when one person steps into a public forum, guards the other person that they're going to attack, and then spends half an hour and says dozens and dozens of things about them that are untrue, which I will establish in detail with actual court-level evidence in this simple book called False Claims Knowledge. And I guess that's all I should have said. We should have gone on to another topic. Mark?
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a breakup in high school where one person's telling one side of the story and the other one's telling the other one.
Let's move caller, new caller, you're on the air. Yeah, fine. Hello,
Am I on the air?
you certainly are. When you hear that boing sound, that means you're on the air.
I want to say I'm on the phone, I'm not doing it. I think Peter's very proud. I think you're beating a dead horse. He's got enough derogatory things about him. But anyway.
I haven't said anything derogatory. Ma'am, I have simply repeated what people have either written on the internet or have said here on the air. That's it.
Well, anyway, I'm glad you're back. Thanks for your all-time greatest. It's just much happier that you're back with there. But Peter is unread and he's a very honest and sincere man, and I think, he's trying to bring his truth to the public, and I think, he's really gotten best. But, I also knew Chuck Picaro and his early days when he worked in New Orleans, and I know he worked in that wonderful documentary, and then kind of disappeared. He never did really get into the apology, and I don't blame him, because he would be a real funny. If he did, he wouldn't go up with the